Here's a question that should terrify you. When did your paycheck stop being yours? No, seriously, humor me for a second. Pull up your banking app right now. Look at your next direct deposit. Now, subtract the money that's already promised to apps, the advance you took from EarnIn, the expedited transfer from Dave, the tip you gave to access your own money. What's left? For millions of people, the answer is not enough, and that's not an accident. That's the business model. By the end of this video, you're going to see exactly how Silicon Valley turned your paycheck into a subscription service, why they're legally charging you 2,000% interest. Yes, you heard that right, 2,000%, and why the people getting destroyed by this are defending it the hardest. This is the story of how payday loans got a minimalist redesign, went viral on TikTok, and somehow became financial empowerment. Buckle up. All right, quick history lesson. Back in your parents' day, when dinosaurs roamed the earth and people still used MapQuest, you financed three things: a house, a car, and maybe college if you were lucky. And that was it. Everything else? You saved up or you didn't buy it. Revolutionary concept, I know. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. And I don't mean gradually, I mean shifted, like when you're playing Tetris and suddenly the blocks start falling twice as fast, and you realize you've been cooked for the last 30 seconds, but you were too focused to notice. Today, we finance everything: groceries, gas, coffee. Hell, I've seen people split gas station snacks into installments. And here's the really crazy part. We're not even financing it with credit cards anymore. We're financing it with our future paychecks. We're literally pre-spending money we haven't earned yet. This is the result of something called earned wage access apps. EarnIn, Dave, DailyPay, Brigit, Chime. And they've pulled off one of the most impressive linguistic tricks in modern finance. They don't call it a loan. They call it accessing your earned wages. They don't charge interest. They ask for tips and expedited transfer fees. It's the same product your grandma would have called a payday loan, but now it's got a pastel color palette and a mascot that looks like it was designed by the same people who made Duolingo's owl. Except instead of reminding you to practice Spanish, it's draining your bank account. And somehow, that makes it okay. Let me walk you through how these apps actually work, because the mechanics are important. You download something like EarnIn, you connect your bank account and your employer's payroll system. The app tracks your hours worked in real time. Let's say you've worked 20 hours this week at $20 an hour. That's $400 you've technically earned, but you won't get paid until next Friday. EarnIn says, hey, why wait? We'll give you up to $100 of that money right now. Sounds great, right? It's your money. You already worked for it. What's the harm? Here's the harm. They charge you for it. Now, they can't legally call it interest because that would trigger all sorts of lending regulations, so instead they use two brilliant workarounds. The app suggests you leave a tip for the service, and they really suggest it, like manipulative UI levels suggest it. The default tip might be $11 for a $100 advance. You can lower it to $0, but the app shows you sad messaging like, tips help us keep the lights on, or my personal favorite, your tip feeds a child. Buddy, I'm trying to access my own paycheck. Since when does the bank ask me to feed children when I withdraw cash? And here's the kicker. Only a tiny fraction of that tip actually goes to charity. The rest is pure profit. It's a mandatory fee dressed up as a moral choice. If you want your money instantly, which, let's be honest, is the entire point, you pay an express fee, usually around $3 to $5 for instant transfer. Otherwise, you wait 2 to 3 days, which defeats the purpose if you needed the money for, rent that's due tomorrow. So let's do the math. You borrow $100, you tip $5, you pay a $3 express fee. That's $8 in total fees. Now, here's where it gets spicy. You're repaying this in 2 weeks when your paycheck hits. That's an $8 fee on a $100 loan for 14 days. When you calculate the annual percentage rate, which is how we measure every other loan in existence, that $8 fee translates to an APR of roughly 330% to 2,000% depending on the exact terms. Let me put that in perspective. Credit cards, 18 to 24% APR. Personal loans, 8 to 15% APR. Payday loan storefronts, the places with neon signs and bars on the windows that everyone universally agrees are predatory, those are capped at 36% APR in regulated states or around 400% in the Wild West states. These apps are charging you 5 to 50 times more than a legal loan shark, but they have better graphic design and a cute mascot, so we give them 5 stars on the App Store. Now look, I know what some of you are thinking. Maximus, it's just $5. What's the big deal? And if it was just $5 one time, you'd be right. But here's the thing about these apps. They're not designed for one-time use. They're designed to trap you in a cycle. And once you're in that cycle, you can't get out. Let me show you how the trap actually works. Picture this. It's the 15th of the month. Rent is due. You're short $150. So you open EarnIn and pull $150 from your next paycheck. Crisis averted. Fast forward to the 30th. Your paycheck hits, but remember, EarnIn automatically deducts that $150 you borrowed. So your paycheck is now $150 lighter than it should be. Except your expenses haven't changed. You still need the same amount of money to survive. So now you're short again. What do? You borrow again, except this time maybe it's $200 because you need to cover the original shortfall plus this month's expenses. Fast forward 2 weeks, your next check is now $200 lighter, so you borrow $250. See what's happening? Your future paychecks are getting eaten before you even earn them. You're on a treadmill that's slowly speeding up, and the only way off is to magically come up with a lump sum of cash to break the cycle. But if you had that kind of cash laying around, you wouldn't have needed the app in the first place. This is called a debt spiral, and it's not a bug, it's a feature. And it gets worse, because you're probably not just using one app. Nearly half of users are loan stacking, using multiple services at the same time. So you've got EarnIn pulling $150, Dave pulling $100, DailyPay pulling $200, and suddenly your entire paycheck is spoken for before you even clock in on Monday. One industry insider described this as a conveyor belt to the incinerator. These companies are just trying to extract as much money as possible before you burn out completely. And don't just take my word for it. Look at the reviews buried under the 5-star bots. I borrowed $100, paid back $115, and now I'm negative again. I can't delete the account because I always owe them money. They took the money before my paycheck hit and caused an overdraft fee. These aren't users, these are hostages. The system isn't designed to help you bridge a gap, it's designed to widen the gap so you never leave. Because they know, statistically they know, that a certain percentage of users are going to default, get sent to collections, and have their credit destroyed. That's baked into the business model. Okay, so you're probably wondering, if this is so predatory, why is it legal? Great question. The answer is loopholes. Glorious, well-funded Silicon Valley lawyer loopholes. See, most states have usury laws. That's a fancy term for interest rate caps. They exist specifically to prevent payday lenders from charging 400% APR and trapping people in debt cycles. But here's the trick. EWA apps don't call themselves lenders. They're not giving you a loan. They're just giving you access to your earned wages. It's your money. You already worked for it. We're just the middleman facilitating the transfer. Except that facilitating costs you 2,000% APR. And because they're not technically lenders, they don't have to follow truth in lending laws. They don't have to disclose APR. They don't have to cap interest rates. They don't have to do any of the things that protect consumers from predatory lending. It's regulatory arbitrage. They found a gap in the law, drove a truck through it, and built a multi-billion-dollar industry in that gap. And here's the really insidious part. They market it as a benefit. Companies are partnering with these apps and telling employees, hey, we care about your financial wellness. Now you can get paid early. But let me tell you what's really happening. Why would employers do this? What's in it for them? That's where things get really dark. And it involves employee retention, corporate incentives, and the fact that keeping workers in debt is actually profitable for companies. But real quick, if you're getting value from this and you want to see more breakdowns of systems that are quietly screwing you over, hit that subscribe button. I promise I'll keep exposing this stuff so you don't have to. All right, back to the conspiracy. So here's the pitch that EWA companies give to employers. Partner with us, and your employee retention will go up. And you know what? They're right. Retention does go up. But not because employees are happier, because they're trapped. Think about it. If you're constantly borrowing against your next paycheck, you literally cannot afford to quit. You can't take 2 weeks off between jobs because you've already spent that money. You can't afford the gap in income. You're locked in. It costs a company about $4,000 to recruit and train a new employee. It costs them $0 to integrate an app that traps you in debt. It's like if your landlord started offering payday loans and then bragged about how few tenants were moving out. Yeah, no kidding. They can't afford the U-Haul. This is the modern company store. Back in the 1800s, coal miners were paid in scrip, currency that only worked at the company store. They were always in debt to the boss, so they could never leave. They were trapped by design. Today, the scrip is digital, but the chains are the same. Companies know that an employee in debt is an employee who stays. They aren't offering you wellness, they're offering you chains. And the apps love this arrangement because they get corporate partnerships, bulk user signups, and direct integration with payroll systems. It's a win-win for everyone, except you. Look, I know this is heavy, but here's the reality. Your paycheck doesn't belong to you anymore if it's been promised to 5 different apps before you even earn it. And here's what really gets me. This is only half the story. Because while EWA apps are harvesting your paycheck, there's an entire other industry harvesting your shopping habits. It's called Buy Now, Pay Later, and it's doing to your credit card what EWA did to your paycheck. In Part 2, I'm breaking down how Klarna, Affirm, and Afterpay turned 4 easy payments into a trillion-dollar industry, why retailers are paying them to let you go into debt, and how loan stacking turns $200 of shopping into financial disaster. But for now, 3 things you can do today. 1. Stop tipping these apps. Decline every single time. You are literally paying 2,000% interest to access your own money. 2. Break the cycle. Set aside even $20 from your next paycheck, then $30. Build a tiny buffer so you're not starting at 0 every time. I know it's hard, but every 2-week loan you skip is one step toward owning your paycheck again. 3. Share this video. Tag someone in the comments who uses these apps. Send them the link. This information could save them thousands. The system is designed to keep you at 0, but now that you see how it works, you can opt out. All right, that's Part 1. If this changed how you see these apps, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Part 2 drops soon. And trust me, if you thought this was bad, wait until you see what BNPL companies are doing. Stay sharp out there.